Showing you guys or kind of telling you guys a little bit about the Skyforge game and a little bit about how you level up in the game. What's interesting about the game is that it doesn't really require leveling. It's more of how good your equipment is. The better your equipment, the higher your prestige is. Now, prestige is kind of what your level is in this game. And to give you an example, the one on the very top right of the screen, 369,795, that would be my prestige, or that could be considered my level. Now, getting there is going to take quite some time, and it's not as easy as you think. The first thing that I would probably tell you guys when you start off the game is to just play through the provinces. Now, provinces is kind of like the main story quest in the game. Now, provinces can be found here. So this is the early maps of the game. You got Dankit Island, Factory 501, Oki Island, Alakra Island, and so on. And each time you finish a province, you unlock bastions. Now, bastions, I will get onto it a little bit later. Now, when you're doing the provinces, it's good to just kind of just blast through it, not worrying about whatever else is in the map itself, because you will get to that once you get to higher prestiges. For me, personally, when I played the game, I just ran through it as fast as possible, because at the end of the game, you get a thing called Divine Form. Now, Divine Form is actually how this game is based off of. Pretty much, you are a god in the game. You're an immortal, and your goal is to become a god in the game. And in order to get there, there you go. So you have your divine abilities. This is kind of like the powers you can get when you become a god in the game. Now, I can't show you what my divine form looks like right now because this is kind of like an open map. But I can show you a little bit about what it looks like. So this is what my divine form looks like. This is what my divine aspect looks like, I mean. You pretty much increase in size, your health is increased, your damage is increased, everything is increased when you're in your divine form. And this is just my normal look when I'm playing the game. Now, once you get your divine form, you can actually get the crown, you can get everything else, but in order to get there, you have to finish the provinces. So, you're gonna start out here, which is the tutorial phase, and once you get to Oki, once you get to Oki Island, this is when you get to start playing with other players, or allowed to play with other players in the game. Early on in the game, they would just allow one player. So in the top left, you'll see 1 of 1. That means only one player can be at the map at the time. Provinces can be played with more players, but the difficulty scales even higher if you play with other players. My recommendation is to just play it by yourself until you finish your divine form. And also, the most important part is choosing your class. Now, when you start the game, you only have 3 available classes, which is the Lightbinder, the Paladin, and the Berserker. So, the Lightbinder is more of a support class. The Paladin is, of course, a tank class, which is one of the first classes I played in the game. And then the other class that you can the other class that you can choose is Cryomancer. Now, it doesn't really matter which class you start off with, it's just pure preference, but for the sake of this tutorial, I'm just gonna say that you are starting off as a Paladin, because Paladin was the first classes I ever get to play. It's a pretty good tank class. Your survivability is pretty high, and it's a lot easier for you to just blow through the maps without having to worry about dying. Now, Once you choose a class, you just start off by playing first province, because as soon as you pick up the game, this is the only one of the only things that you get to able to do. You can't even do the raids, the 5-man, the 10-mans, you know, the multiplayer online PvP and all that. So you always have to start off in the provinces. Provinces are very important because you unlock bastions. Now, bastions are how you increase your might, and you get to unlock more abilities for your character. Now, might is also kind of how strong your character is. Now, if you look at my might with my character, I have 45,000 might with my character. It's gonna be top left on my stats. It's 45,141, and it's not that easy getting to where that might is, because you have to unlock more equipment, you have to do Tower of Knowledge, your cathedrals and all that stuff. Now my main class is my outlaw, which by the way I'll get to in a few seconds. So I'll start first. Let me explain what I mean by Tower of Knowledge. Now, when you start off the game and you progress through the tutorial, they will teach you about the Tower of Knowledge. Tower of Knowledge is one of the places that you can increase your might, but it is very, I wouldn't really say hard. It's not too hard, but it does take away a lot of your knowledge of enemies. Now, knowledge of enemies you can get in the game when you kill enemies, when you pick up items in game, or when you finish regions in the game. As of right now, I've been spending a lot of my knowledge of enemies, and that's why I have 8,300 might. Next way to increase your might and your prestige is cathedrals. Now in your cathedral, pretty much because you're a god, people pray to you, and then you have to offer them rituals. Now this one takes away credits, which is the in-game currency. For me, I reached a point where I have to now use 150,000 credits, which I don't necessarily want to spend, because later on in the game, cathedral isn't really the best way to increase your might. And once you unlock that, you pretty much are good to go early in the game. So let me show you a little bit about the maps and the provinces. So whenever you start off a province, it'll show you these things and how much prestige you need in order to complete it. Each time that you finish it all the way to the 5th level, you increase another difficulty level. So for this one specifically, it's at 205k prestige. That means for me, since I'm 369,000, it's a lot easier for me to just complete. Now each time you complete it, you get rewards, credits, knowledge of enemies, easier way for you to get money that way. So let's go ahead and show you guys a little bit about what the first map kind of looks like.
Another one of my ingenious.
So on the top right under the map, is going to tell you what you need to do to finish the map. So you need to extinguish ritual torches, eliminate the birds, well, and the stories is just my story missions.
We need to reduce their numbers and see those ritual torches. If you extinguish them, we will weaken their morale.
Now I would probably say that the outlaw is like a really good class for just soloing, because it has really high DPS and it has good wave clear in a sense. hurry up and finish this so we can get along. There you go, and the boss is finally out. All we need to do is finish the boss and kill him. And he's almost dead. There you go. So once you complete the quest, you get items and you get credits. So these items aren't useful to me anymore just because I'm a little bit higher prestige, but it's still going to be good for you guys when you first start off. So it'll tell you how much credits you're going to get, and then how much credits you can get with prestige. With premium. So in terms of earning money and stuff like that, doing region completions and then just constantly redoing early maps is like probably a good way of just continuing. I've been part of an operation, okay, and continuing getting more money that way. So once you complete the province or one of the missions, it'll unlock the next difficulty, and so on, and you'll get more money, and then you'll get knowledge of enemies and stuff like that. So now, next step after doing provinces and getting your divine form, now you have to worry about getting equipment. Getting equipment in this game isn't that hard, but it does require a high prestige and high might. Now, in order to do this, you have to have a group to play with. And so you can go to this equipment tab right here, and these are all the places that you can get good item drops, blue drops and purple drops, depending on the difficulty. So one of the earliest ways to get good weapons is going to Hespelon Temple. Now for me, I need a purple weapon, but this one gives you a blue weapon that has a required might of 12,500. Has a possibility of dropping artifact or an artifact, which is a pretty good artifact, and then if you do it in your divine form, you can actually get divine deeds to increase your divine form. Now my difficulty is already set on hard, and it'll tell you how many enemies there are in this map and so on and so forth. Now you could just try to do it by yourself, which isn't recommended unless you have high prestige, or you could do group finder if you don't have enough friends to play with. Group finder usually takes some time because some people don't do the same maps that you need to do. Now if you go back to my equipment, every time that you pop over the equipment, it'll tell you exactly where you need to find the item. So when you go on top of, like, let's say my revolvers here, it'll tell you item drops from bosses. It says rare qualities in Hespelon Temple, and the epic quality is in Nephilis. So if you do that for all your items, it'll tell you exactly where to find them. Now most of my items are decent, they're not the best, but I will plan on getting better equipment sooner or later. But for the most part, this is the highest equipment I can get at the moment. I just need to get a better artifact and a better main weapon. Now to get the purple items, you need to have you need to do the equipment missions that are 10 mans. For example, if I wanted to get Topaz, I have to do Operation Ophelia on hard, and you need to do this map just to get the emerald knowledge that is purple, or higher quality, if you might say. And then in order to get like really good items for certain things, you just have to be lucky. I haven't found a single legendary drop whatsoever. It's hard to find a legendary drop because as of this month, June, the drop rates change for certain items. Certain items levels are a little bit lower, or bonuses are a little bit lower. But I did start this game about a month and a half ago, so technically I started this game when it was already set and I was already used to the fact that the items and the drop rates are lower. Now for the early people who had early access to the game, the drop rates were insane. People have like legendary items and all that stuff, and it was a lot easier for them to get those items. But now it's a little bit harder. That's why I'm kind of doing this video, just to kind of explain how to easily level up in this game. So step 1 is to do the provinces until you get your divine form. Once you get your divine form, you just keep farming region areas. Now region areas are here. These are big maps that have a lot of missions inside, and you get credits, knowledge of enemies, and all that stuff. Once you complete it, you pretty much can repeat it again for a little bit more money, but each one has a set rewards that you can get every time they complete it. For example, this one, Diaphragm Archipelago, top left, it says 40,000 knowledge of enemies. So once I complete the whole map, I get 40,000 knowledge of enemies, and that's an easy way for me to get more knowledge of enemies. I'm saving those a little later, and I believe this is the highest one, which is at 50,000. And once you start doing like certain things in the game, for example, once you go to your quest tab, there's going to be bastion missions, and those bastion missions are a way for you to kind of increase your prestige and also increase your might. Now, most people don't realize this, but you don't really have to do every single bastion mission when you receive them. There's actually a way to just kind of pass over them and kind of increase your leveling up, sort of say. For example, on the bottom next to my credits, there's one that says 12. Now those are stimulants. Now that allows you to skip certain missions when you're playing the game. Let me show you an example. So let us receive some directives real quick. So now I have directive missions. Now these directive missions are not bastions, but it'll kind of explain to you what I mean about the stimulants. Now when you go down here, it says skip the quest. It'll take away 2 stimulants. Each bastion takes only 1 stimulant, and every other day or every other week they will give you a certain amount of stimulants for you to use. So always utilize your stimulants because it allows you to progress a little bit faster in the game. So skip that one, 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 and I don't have enough to finish that one. But pretty much each bastion is about 200 to 300 prestige per completion. So it's a good way to kind of just like pass over certain bastions that are kind of annoying to you, and it'll increase your prestige higher and higher no matter what. And there are a lot of things that's kind of difficult about playing the game, just because not too many people want to play with you when you're how do I say this when you're doing like the high level missions. For example, if you go to capital and you go to your distortions, now these are the ones that you can't really join groups for. You have to have a set 10-man group, and I've only been lucky to join a specific amount of 10-man groups in order to get the items that are in the game. So I have this one already. The only thing I need is an artifact and a weapon, but in order to do the weapon I need this specific map, which is Nephilis.
Done.
So in order for me to kind of just get a better weapon, I have to do this map no matter what. But it's already kind of hard because it's not easy to just invite 10 random people. And even though I have friends in my guild that play the game, most of them are not as high prestige as I am. So 369, which would be me, is the highest. My other friend is at 207, and I'm still waiting on them to increase their prestige in order for them to join me. But those are kind of like the later end game stuff that you need to obtain once you start playing the game. A little bit interesting fact about this game is that when you do equipment missions, for example, you do Hespelon, you can actually see how many times you can do it to get good items. So kind of like this one says, you'll receive equipment as a reward for killing this boss a limited number of times. So you can kill this boss 5 times every day to get a set amount of items. So you have to be really careful which items you pick up, because if you pick it up, that means you get 4 times left, or you get 3 times. So you have to be really nitpicky about picking up like specific things. Like if you're at a lower prestige, getting a blue item is okay, but you just have to be careful picking up the next item. Usually the final boss is what gives you the highest item. So let's go ahead and do this mission just to kind of show you. Preferably, if you want to do this, play it with friends. Don't go in solo.
New technologies for the defenders of Aelion. Go on, take them. It's part of my friendly assistance program.
I have a free divine form, so I might as well. It's really helpful when you have divine form and you're soloing the game. I couldn't even solo the game when I was 100 prestige, so nice. Alright, let's go ahead and get rid of this guy real quick. Okay, so now I'm gonna show you guys the drop item for the first boss. Now this is one of the early bosses in Hespelon. And there's the boss. So now you get one of your first item drops, which is right here. I'm not really gonna pick it up because I'm trying to save my drop rate for later in the game. Whoops. I didn't mean a barrier. Okay. There you go. All right. So now we're gonna be reaching the part where you have another mini boss. Oh. No, I believe this boss drops an item too, I'm not quite sure. Nope, just kidding. It's almost dead. There you go. So now that you've beaten the final boss, you actually get like a really good blue item. So this is kind of like an early game drop for most players. Let's go ahead and pick it up just so we can see what we're dealing with. So he gave me an artifact, which... Nope. And there you go. So now every time you finish a map like this, you get a lot of credits actually. So early game, that's kind of like how you unlock specific items and specific things that you need for your character. Now it is going to take quite some time, especially if you are playing this game by yourself. If you are lucky, you can find a lobby that can help you. And just by doing that map, your prestige and your might slowly will increase every time that you do it, just because of the item drops that it gives you. Now, you have to be very specific on how you want to use your boss drops, because you can only have 5 certain ones per boss run, and you have to be very nitpicky in how you want to use them. So now when you go here, there you go. Now I have 4 left in order to do that one. But anyways, I mean, like, other than finding ways to kind of increase your level early game, that's probably like the best like thing I can tell you because of like the recent updates and whatnot in the game. Um, it will take some time for you to get to a specific prestige that you want to get to. I would probably say try to find a group or try to find people in the game that will help you out. That's kind of one of the biggest things that helped me out increase my prestige. I was lucky enough to be invited into their party and stuff like that. So, other than that, this game does take away a lot of your time and effort. Trying to get equipment, trying to get your dailies, trying to get your story missions done and done. So